Hello, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Respawn Station podcast. My name is Sri Kandula, and today I'm joined by my host in crime, Nick Sivak, because the man has been plotting, and we're not going to ask ourselves any stupid questions at the top of this episode. We're going to get into... Actually, is there a question based around this game that you've created?
Kind of, but
Okay.
We'll get into it.
All right. Well, I mean, Nick, I think we're both doing good, so let's just get into the game.
Yeah, so I approached Sri with an idea for a new little segment that we could try. So we're opening up this episode a little bit differently than normal.
Yep.
This game, Sri, I'm calling "Who's That Character?"
It is a question based. Oh no.
And Sri, I'm not going to assume here, but are you familiar with the concept of "Who's That Pokemon"?
Yes, I have seen it once or twice.
So essentially what "Who's That Character" is going to be is it's going to be very similar to that, but as this is a podcast, it'll be in audio form. So what we're doing is I sent you over some audio clips,
Yes,
and these are going to be
5 audio clips.
Yep, 5 clips. It's going to be lines from characters from specific video games.
Shit.
And you will have to play each character and then guess which it is.
Oh man. Oh, I'm so screwed.
I have a big list of them that I was going through today. Not like super big list, but like, I was going through collecting some. These I wanted to, because this is new, I wanted this to be kind of like a softball. So you can't get all of these.
You can't say that, Nick. You can't say that with me, man. Oh man. All right. Well,
I think you'll definitely get at least 4 out of the 5. So.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Well, let's jump on over into it. So 5 characters. Now,
yes.
Are these all like ones that you've known that I would have played? I'm just
4 out of the 5. I'm not sure.
I see how this works. Okay. All right. Well, here's the first one. Character 1. Nick's not gonna hear it. It's gonna be me. You're gonna hear me listening to it. So here we go.
A few hundred against a million orcs, and they fight on.
Okay. All right. So that I see. That was
So who's that character, Sri?
I think that's I don't. Is it Lieutenant Titus? I don't know what his rank is, but I think that's Titus. Am I?
That is correct. It is Titus from Warhammer 40k.
From Warhammer 40k. I could hear Mark Strong's voice. I
was gonna say, if you didn't get that one, we'd have to quit the podcast.
Yeah.
So.
I think we'd have to reconsider who's hosting this. All right, that's fair. All right, you know what?
All right, off to a strong start.
1 point for me. Second one.
I found a place where we can get some shelter. Let Davey rest while he,
That's Arthur Morgan. From
Red Dead Redemption
2. I got to be honest. Okay, so I'm definitely psyching myself out here because I have to perform here at a certain level. But initially, as soon as he started speaking, and it's going to sound so blasphemous for some people, but I thought it was like Joel from Last of Us because it had like a southern twang, and I was like, oh. I don't know. I was waiting for him to say, like, Tommy, get down. I don't know, something.
That's kind of what I thought would be really interesting about doing this is like, because you don't have any sort of visual thing, like it really is going to test like
can
either
you picture the
lines
character
or can you imagine?
I have to be honest. I think what it's going to come down to. I know you said this is a softball. It's going to come down to like I'll hear something and then I'll be like, I can picture him, but like I won't know what his fucking name is. All right, here we go.
3. This one is the one that you might not get.
Okay, all right. Here we go. All right. It's clearly like a fucking... It sounds like a chat box. Or like, not a chat box, but like it's... I think Animal Crossing has a different style. I think they talk differently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not, but it is. Fuck. Is the fuck, dude? I don't know what one specific game this is, but I feel like as soon as I find out, I'm gonna fucking punch myself in the face.
This was a bit devious on my part. Is are you gonna pass on this one?
No, hold on. I have to at least guess some random thing. Dude, okay. The idea of SpongeBob got stuck in my head, so I'm just gonna say SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom or something. I don't know.
That is unfortunately incorrect.
Fuck. Damn it.
This one was Sans from Undertale.
Oh!
I wasn't sure if you had played Undertale or not.
I haven't played Undertale, but it was also one of the. So it was one of the games that I was scrolling through. I was like, I haven't played it, so I don't know if it's. I didn't want to offend that fan base, but fuck. Damn.
I knew that one was going to be a little bit devious. Having so many of those retro games or retro style ones will just do that noise.
Yeah.
For Xbox stuff. So.
Yeah. All right. Down
You're over the
two,
hump though now. These
2-3.
ones you should be able to get these ones.
All right. Well, let's see. Character 4.
Every guy in this room is staring at you
Ah.
right now.
I knew The Last of Us would be in here. All right, that was Ellie, of course, from The Last of Us. Oh, part 2.
Yes, very good. Part 2.
Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna lose points at this rate. Okay. Also, just that little hint of music I got with that. Oh man.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's another interesting thing about doing this, because some of the clips that I was sourcing for this. Some of it are just voice lines, but some of them do have music in, and I was like, you know what? If
I think
if you can hear the music, I think that can clue
could be
you in on
wrong,
some
but
harder
from
ones.
I think the Arthur Morgan clip, I could practically hear him saddle tying a rope or something. There's diegetic sounds going on there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, character 5. Will I get the 80% that Nick expected of me out of this test? Here we go.
Protocol 2. Uphold the mission. Our orders are to resume Special Operation 217.
Oh no. Hold on, I need to run that back. Hold on.
Protocol 2. Uphold the mission. Our orders are to resume Special Operation 217.
Oh my god. Okay, here's another thing. Once you get one thing stuck in your head, it's so hard to get that idea out.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first thing I thought was Liberty Prime, but then it doesn't have he's not spewing rhetoric quite like my man Liberty Prime.
Mm-hmm. That's a good line of thinking. You're in robot territory.
Sounds
so
like,
you're
I mean,
not far off
if I'm being
there.
honest, it sounds like Optimus Prime, but robot.
These are all video games.
Is this
specifically.
fucking is this Portal? No, what's it called, dude? It's gonna be.
The hint? I'll give you a hint. The hint is in the first couple words.
All right, first couple words.
Protocol 2.
Fuck! It's Titanfall 2, isn't it? It's it's B9, B whatever. Damn.
BT7274 from Titanfall 2. I'll give it to you. You got it.
God, oh man, I thought I choked that last one so bad. Also, I will say, it does have Optimus Prime vibes. Now that I say it, definitely Optimus Prime vibes.
Absolutely.
I think it was more so, yeah. All right, well, dude, weird. I'm looking forward to flipping the script on you because I feel like you need to experience what I just went through there. Because God,
yeah, like I said, I have a list of some other ones, so we don't have to do this necessarily every week, but
Sure.
we do have a pool that we can pull from in the future. I had a lot of fun with that. So
yeah, I felt like I was stunned when you said segment. I didn't realize I was going to be tested. But hey, I came out with an 80%. That's better than I can say for some school subjects. So Now, Nick, I think it's about time we ask ourselves another very important question. How's your mental health?
Pretty good right
All
now, I
right,
guess.
see? All right. That's good. And that's the podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. No, Nick, what have you been playing?
So, the main thing I've been playing is the thing that we can't really talk about on this
Ah,
podcast,
yes.
which we mentioned was Dragon Age Origins, I believe. So,
Yes, yep.
I've been getting more invested into that. At first, it was really slow, but the last couple of nights, I've been getting more into it. So,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be making some steady progress here.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be an interesting discussion because I can't tell if I'm being Stockholm syndromed into it or not, but I'm like 20 hours in at this point, so yeah, we'll see how these last few days shake out. I mean, the episode, spoiler alert, is going to be recorded soon in the next week, so sometime in the next week, I'm going to try to get through that across that finish line, but it's going to be a sprint, I think, for.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna hit it or
Dude,
not. I'm at 11 hours right now. So.
I'm at 20 hours, and I'm told I have 3 story beats left by people in chat who are more experienced with the game than I am. But I looked it up last time I was playing. I was just out of curiosity. I'm like, oh, how long is this game to beat? I didn't remember. It's 40 and a half hours. Okay, so I don't know how I've paced it so that I'm 3 story. Are these last 3 story beats 20 hours long, or I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to seeing how far I get. Now, what's the other one? What's the other thing?
The only other thing that I've really been playing outside of Dragon Age is Fallout 76, unsurprisingly. And Payday 3. I've been playing, my service rotation games.
Sure.
But I figured I'd bring up Fallout because we did just get some new content the other day. So I've been playing a little bit of that. It's basically called Milepost Zero. And it's not like a, dramatic expansion of the game or anything. Like I talked about Skyline Valley, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And that was like a big map expansion, new quest line, like all this new stuff. Milepost Zero is a lot smaller than that. But it does add a unique kind of gameplay system into 76.
Okay.
Basically, what it is you are there's a faction in the game called the Blue Ridge Caravan, and they're kind of this caravan company that transports goods around the wasteland. You'll see them post up at different locations, and in the game already there was a quest where you can it's like an event quest, so like you and a bunch of people can go escort this caravan through like a giant tunnel full of enemies. Basically what Milepost Zero is you're working with like an offshoot of the Blue Ridge Caravan, and basically you get to run your own caravans, which are kind of interesting. So basically there's an introductory quest that takes you to a new location that was added in the Skyline Valley area.
Okay.
And it's like a little tunnel like section that's the base of operations basically for this offshoot of the Blue Ridge Caravan.
Sure.
And you can talk with the head person there that you're directly working with, and basically you can say, hey, I want to go out and do a caravan. And what that does is it'll spawn a little kind of like an event thing in Fallout 76. If a server-wide event pops up on everybody's screen, it'll say like, this event's starting. And
sure,
then you
right.
can open up your map and you can join it.
Mm-hmm.
So it does a similar sort of thing. It lists the player's name and then that they're doing a caravan. So other players can join and help you do this caravan. And basically what it is you are escorting a Brahmin with cargo. And along this path that it spawns on, there'll be like some enemies that'll attack you. There's sometimes these random little obstacles that'll pop up. Like I ran into one where a bunch of trees spawn in. They're like down trees, and you have to like shoot them to break them up. Or you come across another caravan that's being attacked by raiders, and you have to help protect them.
So essentially,
just
it sounds like the Oregon Trail with
kind
Fallout
of
76.
yeah, like you're just kind of transporting this caravan. It's kind of funny because it obviously it wasn't exactly like this, but I played Fallout 1 earlier this year, and you can go on caravan protection missions where you
Oh.
you basically will be hired on by this group. It'll spawn you into an area where you fight some enemies, and then it'll spawn you at the place that they're going to, and you get paid or whatever. And so it kind of reminds me of that in a way, which is pretty interesting. But basically, once you complete it, it maybe takes like 5 to 10 minutes or so.
Sure.
You complete this, transportation, and then you get a new kind of resource slash thing to collect called supplies. And this is kind of your currency that you use at the tunnel home base area, because you can actually kind of hire new people into the caravan group and also upgrade this little tunnel and kind of make it your own, which is kind of interesting because we don't really have anything like that anywhere else in the game.
Right.
There is like an ammo specialist that you can buy. You can buy a decorator. You can buy somebody to help out with like the Brahmin to give you different tiers of like difficulty of cargo runs you can do. Yeah, and it just seems like it's this little new gameplay loop that you can engage with, and gives you some new unique rewards and stuff. There's a new weapon that you can get eventually, like if you get the ammo specialist and you upgrade him, apparently you get like a new quest to go and get a new like laser weapon, which is cool. They don't really add
I think
new
that's the one that I
weapons
saw
all
in the
that
trailer.
often. Yeah,
the laser pistol, not shot.
and
no, I wouldn't say pistol. I don't know why I said pistol. It's like a rifle.
it's like a rifle, and it also has a unique gameplay mechanic that no other weapons have, which it has an overheating mechanic, where the longer you shoot, it'll build up heat. And I don't have this weapon yet, so I don't have any hands-on with it, but I believe I saw it increases damage the higher the heat level goes, but if you,
blow it,
have it meet the top end of it, it'll like burn out and you won't be able to fire for a bit.
right.
So I thought that was like kind of an interesting, dynamic for a weapon that no other guns in the game really have.
Right. Huh. Well, I mean,
but yeah, I've only played it a little bit just yesterday and today, and it seems fun. It seems like it's another kind of Fallout 76 thing where like, it's just kind of another thing to grind for, but I think they did do enough to make it feel pretty distinct from any of the other kind of grindy kill the enemies loops that the game already has.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, when you're kind of working at a live service game of this scale, I think these things just kind of give you more reason to go back, and it's all you need sometimes. That's all you need.
And one thing that is nice that I should say is, at least currently, all of the caravans are located within the Skyline Valley region. So it is nice being able to explore this new map.
The new map that
they created outside of, just doing the quest line and finishing. Like, this does let you kind of appreciate, the new area a lot more.
Sorry, my desk is falling apart as I'm hosting this episode, so it's we'll see if it's still standing by the end. But okay, so Dragon Age, and a little bit more Fallout Payday. That's your main diet for the week.
Yep. Currently, I will say, I was able to secure a order for a physical copy of Warhammer Space Marine 2. So that'll be in the future, but I think I need to focus on Dragon Age a bit more, especially if we're recording.
That honestly, I've been in the exact same place because I have Space Marine 2, but I've been playing the obviously Dragon Age and the game I'm about to talk about. So I haven't gone back to Space Marine 2 much just yet. I'm hoping, for the love of God, that the next month's retrograde is a manageable game, guys. Oh my God, it was not.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest at some point that we should maybe institute like an hour cutoff for some of the entries.
Look, here's the thing, right? I didn't expect the game to win it all, and to it is on us as well. We picked Dragon Age Origins. It still haunts me. It's one of those random things where Nick in the group chat was like, "Yeah, or we could do DAO," and I was like, "I don't know what DAO is," but and then like 2 messages ago, I was like, What about Dragon Age Origins?" But yeah. Anyway, last second win, so wasn't expecting it. Next month it's gonna be a little bit spooky. Something spooky themed, so hopefully there's no 80-hour horror games that people can vote for. But anyway, with that said, I've been talking quite a bit over the last few weeks, dropping hints here and there about this game that I've been playing, and man, I am so excited to finally talk about it in full. That is, of course, Kena Bridge of Spirits, which originally launched on PlayStation back in September of 2021, and it is now September of 2024, and I have experienced the game in its full glory. So originally it launched as a PlayStation exclusive on console and I believe an Epic Game Store exclusive on PC, and then it later went on to Steam and Xbox, which is how I'm playing it. So right off the bat, thank you to the publisher for sending us over a copy of the game to play. I've been playing on the Xbox Series X, and essentially, if you don't know about Kena Bridge of Spirits, it's from Ember Labs, and it's I'm going to say a 3D action adventure game with elements of different kind of, or DNA of other games in it, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you play as Kena, the titular spirit guide, who essentially enters this village that is being plagued by this, maybe it's the Dragon Age in me that's going to say this, but this blight that is kind of like sapping out all the life and nature from the different parts of this village. And so you are, as a spirit guide, in charge of helping spirits move past their, like, whatever it is that they've kind of left behind, their fear, their love, their et cetera, like something that they've left behind that makes their spirit unable to kind of move on. You are there to help them in that process. And so that's the general plot. The main game itself consists of 3 different big pivotal characters that you're kind of branching off and helping them move on. So you have to help 3 big characters move on in the spirit world, and then you get to the end of the game, and you get to the mountain shrine that's kind of like looming in the distance the whole time. And look, I have to say this, and I really hope that someone who worked on this video finds its way to them, because there are so many times playing this game where I was just like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Or like it's game that so continually impressed me, not just because obviously it looked good, which we'll get to, but it presented this package, this whole, everything combined. It made a product or a piece of art that I just really enjoyed exploring and spending time in. So I'm not going to get too much more into the story. I think it takes, for me at least, it took me about like until at the end of the second act to really, for the game to get me going emotionally or anything, like get me really hooked. And that's because it takes you kind of that long for like Kena's character to actually be kind of not introduced. I don't want to say that in a weird way, but like kind of really fleshed out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we both went to the same conclusion. So that's how I'm not going to get much more into that kind of the emotional stuff, or the story plotline stuff. But the gameplay wise is where this game kind of becomes this weird cocktail of different things, which also is part of why I think, Nick, you would really enjoy this game, because it has, and I think you had suggested this or kind of asked me this on a previous podcast, but I'll reiterate and answer it here, about if it's like a Zelda game at all. And I really think that it has elements of Zelda. And I think there are certainly like stretches that you can go to say, oh yeah, it's like a Zelda game, because you can be like, oh, there's 3 different, if I was to, again, being vague, there's 3 different major things that you have to do, and each of them involves kind of mainly puzzles and traversal, to as well as obviously combat through third-person gameplay that it does involve a bow and arrow as well. Again, I'm making generalized statements about Breath of the Wild and stuff here, but you can do that, and you can also say same thing with how in the distance, you can see this objective that's there that you will eventually like kind of reach. So those
is it kind of like Uncharted in that way, where like it's not like open world, but like you constantly see your goal ahead of you, or is it like open world? Because that's
so it's not necessarily. It's not necessarily open world, but it's, you could say it's open world, but the way it works is that you're progressing through it. Like as you play the game, you're opening up parts of the map. Like again, I'm not sure if the word is right, but this blight that kind of restricts a lot of the map right off the bat. And as you're, cleansing these areas is when you're like, the map will open up to you. So by the end of the game, you have, fast travel points all over this map, and you'll have cleaned out the map, so you can literally just walk from one part of the map to the other and fully explore it. But right out, when you start off, it's the main town center, and then wherever you have to go, the direction that you can
do. You do a lot of like backtracking, or is it like once you unlock a new area, you're kind of moving forward?
So you clear one area, and then you go back to the town center, and then you go to the second area, you go back to this town center, third area.
Gotcha.
But and so like the town center kind of connects all 3 kind of large areas. However, one of the things is the village itself, the main village, has these houses that are again overrun by kind of vines and pustules. And as you're playing the game, if you explore, which is part of the reason why it took me so many weeks to get through this game, is because I didn't want to just rush through it. I wanted to actually experience everything. I wanted to go off the beaten path. And when you do that, you'll occasionally find you'll find rot, which is those cute little like things that hang around Kana and kind of help her in various tasks throughout the gameplay or throughout the game, including they can pick up objects and move them if you wanted to. Specific objects. You can't just like pick up any object you see. But it can also like interact with certain like water bubbles to create like a cleansing or being. I'm terrible at describing things for being someone who's published two books, but I don't know why I flex. That wasn't meant to be a flex, by the way. I wanted to make that clear. But anyway, going back to the topic. They can also, in combat, you can, use the rot to kind of distract the enemies or even kind of hurt them a little bit too. So the rot have different functions, and you collect them by, again, going off the beaten path, finding little things and picking them up. But also you can find packages that are essentially, it's spirit mail that is for houses in the village. So when you get a spirit mail, you'll get a little point on your map that you can then at your own time go back to the village for. And when you deliver the package, you can go in. There's sometimes a little bit of a few enemies, but you can clear them out and get bonuses, like some sort of little perks here and there. So that can include an additional rot. It can include the game's in-game currency, which there's a few different kinds of in-game currency, because there's the generic kind of just glowing crystals that you use to buy outfits and masks for your rot, which is pretty cute. But then also you have these kind of spirit circles. Again, terrible with the names here, but those allow you to actually upgrade your abilities and stuff. So you can get more arrows for your bow right off the bat. You can get later on in the game, you can increase to how many bombs you have, what the rot can do. You can kind of upgrade that stuff. And so there's a mixture of things that you can kind of balance. And it's one of those things where it's not so intrusive that you kind of always have to be like, okay, what can I upgrade? What can I upgrade? But also, I find myself occasionally after every boss or so, I'll go in and see, oh, I have enough to upgrade this thing. And they're like most of the items I think are pretty compelling to use or to upgrade. So I kind of just, I'm slowly upgrading the whole skill tree as I go. It's not like a big, a point of contention or something you have to really pay attention to. So that could be a plus or minus depending on what you're going for. Now, along with the Zelda aspect of it, there is, of course, the Souls-like aspect. I think the Souls-like term has been thrown around as well when describing the game. And at first, I was like, really? I mean, like, I don't know. I beat the first boss in like 30 seconds. But the game escalates. So there's certain bosses, nothing that's like, oh my god, this is infuriating. I'm never playing. Like, it's not Elden Ring, Nick. I'll say it right out front. But there are certainly times where I have to go gamer mode. I have to put my elbows on my knees and go, all right, let's calm down here. Let's figure out what's going on. And some of the bosses really oh yeah, just like that.
Gamer mode activated.
Gamer mode activated, and you have to plan out things a little bit carefully. Use all the abilities that you have at your disposal, and also, I mean, like one of the things that you'll see a lot is enemies will have these like crystals or these orange sap-like crystals, and those crystals, when during combat, if you shoot them, will give you will essentially drop that you can pick up to get rot abilities. So like actions out of your rot, or so those are the things I was talking about where you can set your rot to distract or attack an enemy. You can also use it during boss fights to heal yourself. There's little flowers. Usually if you see flowers just conveniently placed in the game, you're probably walking into a boss fight. And so, those kind of things you can kind of are telltale signs of perhaps a Souls-like game. But it is not a full Souls-like, and as in there's no bonfires and stuff like that. Enemies don't respawn every time you travel. Like that kind of stuff isn't there. But the difficulty of the bosses, the nature of kind of getting to know their moveset, when they go into their second phase, okay, what are they doing? How do I beat them? Not all bosses are just go in swinging. Some bosses you need to throw a bomb, like they'll be attached to an object that you have to throw a bomb at, blow up the bomb, which you blow up the bomb by shooting an arrow at it, and then when that happens, it opens up this crevice that then you can shoot or a crystal that you can shoot 3 times to again take down the shield around the boss to engage the boss in combat. So stuff like that. It's not a simple game. At least, I'm playing on the normal difficulty. So if you played on story mode, it could be a bit breezier. But
is it a fun level of challenge, or it's like I know you said you had to activate gamer mode, but like does that ever get like to the point where like, okay, like I get it, like let's wrap this up, or like is it fun to go back and try to get over them?
Not for me, and I think maybe there's times it got close, but usually it's like 3-4 times, and some bosses even later on, sometimes there are bosses that I got that on the first try, but there are also bosses that are a bit more technical, and I think the game has a really nice way of ramping up the difficulty. So some of the early bosses, like I said, are easy, not all of them. In fact, at the start, I think some kind of just overworld enemies are more tiring than the actual bosses at the start, but regardless, as you go through the game, they get more difficult, and it is more satisfying too as you ultimately kind of overtake them. And also, I'm gonna guess that it's gonna play similarly on the PS5, but the game is really smooth on the performance mode on the Xbox Series X. On top of the fact that it looks so nice so often, it's just like an easy game to just pick up and stare at. And of course, I will confirm on my notes there is a big plus sign that says photo mode, because this game has a great photo mode. I spent way too much time in this game's photo mode, and it has one of the craziest features of photo mode that I really haven't seen in many other games. But so when you're in photo mode, you can unfreeze the action, so the world kind of just continues to breathe, which is cool. But then also, you can change the mode from photo mode to tracking, and tracking essentially lets you set a. I'm gonna use technical terms that I know Nick can follow. You can set a starting keyframe and then an ending keyframe, and the camera will like run that pattern back.
That's cool
on its own. Yeah, so like stuff like that is a cool addition. So yeah, photo mode is a huge plus. And I mentioned earlier, I'm not at this point. I'm just going through my notes, so you're gonna get a vomit of things. So Nick, if you ever have anything specific, let me know.
Yeah, sure.
There's along with going off the beaten path to explore and get some of the collectibles and side stuff. There are also challenges if you're again want to spend more time in this world. There's shrines that you can go to, or sorry, not shrines, chests that you can go to that are locked, and to unlock these chests you have to do some sort of a challenge that can be defeat a certain amount of enemies in a certain amount of time, or and there's some ridiculous ones. There's like defeat 15 enemies in a minute, and these guys are not going down very easy. But then some of them can be super, just like survive 3 waves of enemies, and you're good to go. That kind of thing. There's also trials, which again you have to go back to the main village for, but these are again a series of competitions or challenges that include using your bow and arrow to get all the targets, surviving a certain amount of time or a certain amount of waves of enemies, and when you complete them, you get new outfits for Kena to wear. Not that I was personally not that I was very invested in that aspect of it. It wasn't like I think the raw masks are much more compelling for me than the outfits. I didn't think they were that crazy, but again, it's a very
fun thing to go for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guessing that you didn't have to pay real money for, so it's always nice when you see that.
Yep. And it's again, it's another reason to kind of test yourself in the game, spend more time in that world, and see how it is. Oh, also, I have to, Nick, I forgot to mention another reason why I think you should play this game. This video is actually me pitching why I think Nick should play Kena Bridge of Sprits. It's not directly Max Payne, but if you jump and you pull out your bow and arrow, everything goes into slow motion, and it's so satisfying.
That's very Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, because I constantly do that. Like even if it's close quarters combat, I'm just like, hold on, let me get a jump in, so I can, it just looks cooler that way.
I should also say, there's nothing about Kena that's like ever put me off of the game. It's just a game that I haven't gotten around to yet.
Sure.
So street pitching me here is, I'm a willing recipient of playing this game. It's just finding the right time.
Yep. Especially with Dragon Age looming right, or over us all.
Yep.
A few quick things. So yeah, I mean, look, you're gonna get new abilities again, like a typical game of this standard or this formula. You're gonna get new abilities continually that not only affect combat, but also just the way you traverse. So I'm going to say the one thing that I've reiterated, so I'm not spoiling anything else for players, but the bomb, along with being something you can use in combat, there are certain objects that you can throw the bomb onto, and when you make it explode, it'll actually trigger the objects to move in a way that you can kind of temporarily access different heights, like different areas by mantling these objects. So stuff like that is a nice way to change up what you're doing at a minute by minute basis. I also think that this is what I'm saying. Areas are the perfect size, I think, for me, because they are just big enough. Like every time you enter a new part of the map, right, they are just big enough to be like, oh, that is cool. Like I can see the things all the way over there, but it's not so much that you're like, that's going to be a chore getting up there. It's just the perfect size where I've always kind of been, my interest has always been piqued about, oh, what can I do? Where does that go? Now, the biggest plus that really ties it together, I've talked about how the visuals are good. It constantly reminds me of like a Pixar movie with the way the animations are, the kind of the certain characteristics of the facial animations especially. But the the thing that accents that so well is the score. It has an absolutely incredible soundtrack. There is a flute sequence in the soundtrack that it just like gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. It is so good. So absolutely phenomenal soundtrack from this game. And it just kind of plays lightly in the background as you play, and it hits right at the perfect time where I wouldn't be doing anything. I'm just kind of exploring, and then the soundtrack will really take center stage as I'm doing it. And it's a good formula. Now, that being said, there are a few things the game, a few things I could probably complain about the game, and so I'm gonna fly through them real fast. First of all, voice acting is hit or miss sometimes. The main characters are, I think, are really good, but like sometimes not gonna name any names, but some characters are not, leave a little bit to be desired. Fishing Shrine Puzzle doesn't feel well explained, I think. I'm not gonna, again, I won't explain too much because I would get into spoilers, but yeah, there's certain things that I feel like the game could have maybe explained itself a little bit easier there. Also, combinations of the tight camera in terms of like how far it is from Kana, and a weirdly finicky like lock-on mechanic makes some boss fights a little frustrating. Not all the time, but it essentially grew to a point where I stopped using the auto lock. Like, if you hit R3 by design, it's supposed to like lock onto an enemy, but I find it either doesn't work all the time, or like the boss will go off frame and the camera just doesn't keep up with them. So stuff like that. That being said, similarly, speaking of bosses, some bosses can be bum rushed. So if you really want to, you can just go in, attack, not stop, like just really time it right, and they
get them in a stun lock.
And you're cleaning through them. But with that said, I mean, look, there's really just minor stuff here, occasional performance stuff that like beard will sometimes look weird. Hair looks fine, like character's beard will sometimes look weird. And then again, if I was to really nitpick, things like pressing A every time there's a dialogue said is also weird. I feel like it looks like a Pixar movie, and it has all these kind of really cinematic tendencies, but then after every dialogue, you have to hit A to advance to the next dialogue. And so like characters will deliver their line and will just kind of stare in their, in like their whatever emote that they were in during their dialogue delivery. So stuff like that, I feel like it would have been.
That also sounds very Zelda. I wonder if that's like an intentional choice or not.
Honestly, it could. Yeah, I could definitely see that now that you said it. I didn't really put it together, but it could be. Could be intentional, but stuff like that is a little weird. But that is all minor stuff. All of that does not hold a candle to the fact that I highly recommend playing Kana Bridge of Spirits. Not just to Nick, but for everyone listening. It's on PlayStation, Xbox, it's on PC via Steam and Epic Game Store. So if you have any interest in playing it, you could probably play it, and I hope you do, because Ember Lab, they're onto something here. I can't wait to see what they do here or next.
Yeah, you said it came out in 21, right?
Yep.
So they're probably cooking on something. We'll probably see that sooner.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say the Xbox version just came out like last month. Like that's when they sent over a code. So I don't know I don't know how the pipeline for that kind of stuff works, or if there was like an exclusivity thing that they were working on. But you know what? Hold on, I want to actually test before I say something, because hold on, Ember Lab. Yeah, okay. So Ember Lab, cut this in, has actually worked on, so this is their first game, Kana Bridge of Spirits, but they've also previously worked on a Majora's Mask fan film.
Yeah, I remember that, coming into the conversation around when it was coming out, because people were comparing it to Zelda, and they're like, yeah, well, they had that fan film forever ago. I had actually seen that film way before I even knew it was them, like a long time ago, and then it kind of, member buried and popped back up once it was in the conversation again.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's good animation, and I guess they do have love for for The Legend of Zelda. So that's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's a fun thing that I just remembered. It's a tribute to the legendary game and a gift to the fans of the franchise.
They should probably be doing
the Legend of Zelda game
outside of
movie. Yeah, 100%.
Outside of live action. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how long I talked about that game, to be honest with you. I had a lot to get through. But now, Nick, I will say, the astute, the careful listener might have noticed that I didn't give away what we were talking about this episode. What's the main topic? Well, sorry guys. This episode, Nick, what is it?
It's all headlines.
It's all headlines. And you know what, Nick? I don't even know if you know this because this popped off moments before the stream began. But do you know that Nintendo has filed a lawsuit for infringement of patent rights against Pocket Pair Inc. for Pal World?
I have not. That's crazy.
So as of September 19th, so I'm guessing it's 18th when we're doing this, but so I'm guessing 19th is when this will officially go. But
I think it's 19th in Japan right now.
That's fair actually. It's well into the never mind. It's 100%. They're in a different time. Yeah. Nintendo, together with the Pokemon Company, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocket Pair on September. Oh, actually, no. So it says on September 18th, 2024. This lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds of the Power World, a game developed and released by a defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect intellectual properties it has worked on hard to establish over the years. And that is, of course...
That took a while.
That is...
I mean, Power World's been out since, the beginning of the year.
And they signed something... Is it with Sony? They signed some huge deal to, establish the brand or something, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Or expand the brand.
I wasn't following it too closely, but yeah.
I gotta be honest. Look, I knew this was gonna happen. If I was to be honest, I also am surprised that this took this long. But I also have to be honest. I played Pal World. I don't know if you did, and I did not like it at all.
I didn't really hop on that train when it was leaving the station.
I played a little bit, and it just I was just immediately bounced off of it. I no part of that game engaged me at all, and I'm clearly alone in this because, well, not clearly alone, but isolated in this because, I mean, a lot of people liked it. I know Austin, I think, really liked it for a long time. I think he played it quite a bit.
Power World always just seemed kind of like, again, I don't want this to sound too mean, but it always just looked like, a Twitter game to me, where it's hey, we have this concept of Pokemon but guns, but it felt like that was all it was, and that it didn't go any deeper than that. I mean, clearly there has to be something there because the game is one of the biggest successes of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, just always looking at it, I was just okay, you got Pikachu with an AK-47.
Yeah, and also you can eat them too and stuff. It's just no, I don't know. There's at least some. I don't know. See, all right. If this was to be a quick Pal World review for why I didn't like it, it's because in Pokemon I have at least some sort of escapism. There's a suspension of disbelief that I can be, I'm this kid on this adventure. We can ignore the facts that we're just a kid exploring the world on our own, that kind of thing. That's the whole part. That's the whole fun of it. This is okay, so I gotta it's like Minecraft, but then there's Pokemon, and then you catch them, but then you can kill them, and then I was I don't care. And also I'm too far into other shit. I don't care about getting invested in the Pal World. Anyway, that's my thoughts. But that's just one of the many breaking news that we have in this episode.
Yeah, like you were saying before, basically, we usually have a main topic, and we were discussing prior to shooting this episode what we wanted to talk about, and I was well, there's kind of a lot of different loose threads that we could pull from. So I think a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to be structured very similarly to that Pow World news there. I guess we'll just pick some headlines. We'll have a little chat. If it's a quick chat, fine. We can move on to the next one. If we have more to say, we can
If
sit
I have
around
a
and
review
stew
of
on
Pow
'em.
World, I'll give
Exactly.
it. I'll give it.
So I don't really have like a huge like organization for this tree, but there are like some subheaders. Is there anywhere specifically you want to fly to first, or should we just pick some of these at random here?
I mean, look, the most enticing news this week is the fact that there is unverified leaked images of the Switch 2, and
Yeah,
it's the most like likely of what the Switch 2 will look like. This came with information about not just what the system would look like, but also the fact that it has magnetic Joy-Cons. There's 8-inch screen, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 of gigs of internal storage. I would say that it sits somewhere between like a PS4 Pro and a Xbox Series S. I think actually I can't take credit for that. I think that's a generalized kind of estimate of where this will sit. So somewhere around there power wise. Obviously that's docked. I would say probably undocked is more maybe PS4 range or something like that. But
yeah, I pulled some of this from GameSpot, their write-up that they had on it, and they included sort of specs for Switch currently. And like to give a little bit of context, the 12 gigs of RAM, apparently the current one has 4, so that's triple the RAM on there. And the Switch OLED currently out of the box has an internal storage
64?
of 64 gigs, bumping up to 256. So that's a pretty significant improvement.
Those are definitely upgrades. The magnetic Joy-Cons is a little interesting. I don't know if I'm not picking up what they're putting down here. But
I guess like it's because on the regular Switch,
you slide them up, and
it's a physical contact point where like it clicks in and
we
stuff.
trust
And
in
I
magnets?
guess this you wouldn't need to do that on. I'm not really sure what to think about that. But
look, again, we won't spend too much time talking about leaks and stuff, but it is kind of I don't know.
It was the talk of the town earlier today.
It was, and we had a conversation earlier today. I was talking to Austin and stuff, and it is weird that it's the most likely what the Switch will look like, or the Switch 2 or the Switch Pro will look like, but it's like, oh man, it's just this. It's this again. But I can't complain too much. I mean, I feel like the Switch feels more of a 3DS successor at this point based on that than I think like something like a Wii or a N64. It's not
right.
It's an iteration of something. It's not a whole kind of reinvention.
Which, to be fair, I think if you were to poll most Switch owners, if they were like, "What do you want out of the next Nintendo console?" they would probably just be like, "I want the Switch, but with more power." So I mean, theoretically, it's what a lot of people want. It's kind of what I want, but at the same time, like me as a Nintendo fan and a Nintendo consumer. Like, I pretty much just go to them for their software, right? Like, it doesn't usually matter what hardware I'm playing a Nintendo game on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to me either way whenever I see Mario running around or Link pulling his sword out. Like, I'm going to be in, like, regardless.
Yeah. I'm just hoping for, and this is a conversation again, I want to, maybe I'll say, I'll pitch this in for Austin, who, who's not here. Please have trophies or achievements on this Nintendo console.
I think that would be a great inclusion, because it does feel weird when Nintendo versions of games that have achievements just have like a weird in-game achievement thing.
Yeah,
like it feels weird.
I think I was like psychoanalyzing this myself, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this specifically today is because I wanted to mention the fact that I was psychoanalyzing myself, because I've fallen out of love with my Nintendo Switch. I played it a whole lot, and then I kind of slowed down, and then I played it again a lot more, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait. And the reason why I wanted to wait is because there was, I don't know if you remember this, Nick. There's rumors, or they maybe even like I don't know where it came from, but there's rumors that Nintendo was finally going to add achievements or something in the Nintendo's life cycle, the Nintendo Switch's life cycle. And I was like, that's when I'll go back to the Nintendo Switch. And I'm still waiting for it. And I think eventually it came to a point where I was like, I could play the Nintendo Switch, or I could play the Steam Deck and, get anything else, get anything I wanted.
Here's a question for you, Sri. Xbox calls it achievements, PlayStation calls it trophies. What does Nintendo call their equivalent?
Oh, man.
Merits, stamps.
Merits is a good one. Merits is a good one. Oh man, that's a good question. Merits pretty. That's a solid one. Stamps feels like it's an Animal Crossing thing.
That's kind of what I thought too when I said it. I was just like, yeah, that is a little bit weird, but stickers. They could theoretically, I guess, call them achievements or trophies. I don't know if Microsoft or Sony has like patents.
No, Steam says achievements. Epic Game Store says achievements. I think Sony's the only one that has trophies. Though, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. I don't think Sony invented trophies, so I don't think they have any copyright on that either. So, I don't know. Something. Call them Mario's boogers. I don't know. Just give me the ability to unlock Mario's boogers, and then eventually, I don't know. Complete the booger Pokédex, and I'll be like, yes, I feel accomplished for something. I also think that the combination of a Pokemon game with like trophies or achievements would be devastating for me. That would be crazy. I'm essentially
that there would be like capture one of every Pokemon.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that would motivate me, unlike anything else has motivated me before to get them.
Dude,
to get them all.
Oh, I just said that, and I completely forgot that Pokemon always splits those versions up. So it'd be like you have to get all of them.
Man, yeah.
That's devious. They'd totally do that.
They would, yeah. And you know what? That would give more people, I need to get both games so I can platinum both, or not platinum. You know what I mean? Mario Booger the both, but whatever. I don't know why that was the first one that I'll stick with it. Mario Boogers. All right. What else do we got on the big ones? I mean, there's a few giant topics to get to, but we can talk about a smaller one in between.
Yeah. Let's talk about. Here's one that I think is just a smaller one, but I included it because you have at least some sort of connection to it.
The Mafia?
Square Enix came out and claimed that Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth did not meet sales expectations. Surprising nobody, because Square Enix apparently has the highest expectations in the world for all of their games, because this feels like the 30th game that they've said that doesn't meet sales expectations.
Every time they announce it, they're like, sorry, this game disappoints. Square Enix is, in that way, it's kind of like my parents. Is the expectations, I don't know where the bar is, but I'm definitely not meeting it. So yeah, it's as you said, it's happened so many times at this point, it doesn't mean anything to me.
I feel like it used to primarily be, when Square Enix was, like, I don't want to say a bit of a bigger company, because they feel like they're, as big as they've ever been.
Yes, yeah.
But when they were investing more in like
Stars
Western studios, right? When they were investing more in like, Western studios, where like they had like IO Interactive and what was the team that was doing Tomb Raider?
Crystal Dynamics.
Crystal Dynamics, yes. When they had like them
and Don't Nod, wasn't that
they were always kind of like, I think so. It was always just like, oh yeah, it didn't meet expectations, and it's like, okay, maybe there's like a weird,
sure,
language barrier or something there. Like the owners in the Japanese part of the company like aren't exactly managing the expectations properly.
Yeah.
Now it is a little bit different, because it is like their big marquee like Final Fantasy franchise games, right? That they're saying this about, but yeah, I don't really know what to tell Square Enix other than like maybe lower your expectations. Like I really don't get how it's almost constantly with every release. Like sometimes you kind of understand it, right? Like a Foam Stars or irregardless of the
Yeah.
quality of the game, like Forspoken. Like, I think those
Yes,
ones
you
you
do,
don't really
yeah.
expect, but I feel like 7 Rebirth and 16, they had a good deal of marketing and stuff and fan hype around it, but maybe they just didn't explode exactly how they figured they would. I'm really not sure on that one.
I thought 16. Well, I thought 16 was like everyone was talking about it, but then
Mhm.
I have not played 7 remake or 7 rebirth, and I feel like everyone and their mom was talking about 7 rebirth when it came out. So maybe it's
Mhm.
these echo chambers that we coexist in. Maybe that were particularly strong with these games, and the main market kind of missed it. But I don't know. I feel like
Mhm.
these games just
I partially feel bad because 16, it came out in a time when there was like 5
I
other games that I wanted to play, so I
yeah.
unfortunately missed 16. I have every intention of going and actually playing it at some point, but it's like
Well, I'll
maybe
tell
that also
you.
contributes to it, where it was the busiest year in a decade for games.
Yeah, I was gonna spoil something, but I won't. I'll save it for another time. But go ahead.
That was pretty much all I had on Square Enix, unless there was anything else you wanted
No,
to
no,
throw in there.
that's about par. um, let's see. All right, so here's the thing. All right, we got a small fry out of the way. Let's talk about EA. It's gonna be a good one when we talk about EA. So first of all, I mean, Nick, where do we start with this? Where do we start? So there was this investor
Uh,
briefing that happened earlier, and
yes.
during this, we got a few key pieces of information. I think the big one I think we'll hit at the end. So let's talk about like the skate and battlefield of it all first. I think.
Sure. We can definitely fly through Skate real quick.
Yep. Or skate
basically,
through.
yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Basically, not a whole lot of news with Skate, other than they announced that next year in 2025, they will be entering early access.
Oh, okay.
This
So just
kind
a
of
little
came to a
little production
surprise
update.
to me. Yeah, basically just a little, little. Hey, we're going into early access next year. This was a little bit surprising to me, though. I texted my one friend Shane, who, we're both Skate fans, and I was like, "Cool," but this game was announced so long ago, and we're just now going into early access. It's like this feels like this is going to be like an 8-year dev cycle for a Skate game by the time it actually finishes
But
and
it'll be
everything.
perfect when it comes out. Or it
I
won't
know
come
that
out at
they've been
all.
doing a lot of like community play testing, and like I think obviously like closed alphas and betas and all that.
Yeah.
So like going into early access, like it makes sense. Like we'll open it up to have a lot more players playing and like kind of guide the ship towards release on Skate.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, pretty much like I said, like I'm excited, but as somebody that doesn't usually dive into early access, it's like, okay, how much longer am I going to have to wait to play Skate when it's, finally released? Is this like an early access by like 2026 we're playing it? Or is it like, 2028 is when we're getting out of that access period?
Yeah. There's
Um,
also The Sims they talked about, and I will say that I kind of appreciate the sentiment. So they said that they're going to be continuing work on Sims 4. So there's no plans for Sims 5 because or they're not actively working on Sims 5. I can't say that there's no plans for Sims 5 period, but
mhm.
essentially and the logic is that they've put so much time, effort, and they've asked players to put so much time and money as well into The Sims
Mhm.
4 that it would be weird for them to just be like, hey, now do all that again in Sims 5. So essentially, they've said that that they want players to start from scratch. They don't want players to start from scratch. Jesus Christ, I can't speak. And then they also announced that there's a Sim movie in works with Margot Robbie, I believe. I think that was the
It's
story.
like a production studio that she owns or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I just watched a Margot Robbie produced movie this week called My Old Ass. That was pretty good. So there you go. General recommendation. I honestly don't know what the rest. My Sims is the Sims project
Yeah,
stories.
so there's a couple other projects that they announced. admittedly, I don't know much about these either. There was, like you mentioned, Project Renee, which I'm not sure at all what that would be.
Sure.
My Sims, we do have like the Nintendo Switch port of My Sims and My Sims Kingdom that was announced at the last Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. So theoretically, that would encompass that, but maybe they're looking to test the waters or something with that, and maybe further expand on the My Sims part of the Sims brand. And then the other one was the Sims Project Stories, which, I mean, just by the project name, that makes me think that it would maybe be some more structured narrative type Sims experience versus, having the little Sims run around and going herbalabrador, like, and talking to people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I really do like the idea that they've backed Sims 4. That is, I feel like when people
it's
are
nice
so...
that they're not going to have to break off and like have people that have spent hundreds of dollars on Sims expansions.
Yeah,
like,
and like when
again,
I feel like a lot of developers or mainly publishers are kind of pushing for sequels that just like, let's see if we can get them on back for a second round or third round. It's nice to be like, okay, we've gotten you for quite a bit already. Let's see, let's add content to or value to the content that you've already have. So I can appreciate it. Now, Battlefield, we got some updates.
Yeah, Battlefield. First of all, Sri, how are you with Battlefield? I actually don't know this. Like, I know we've talked about Call of Duty a lot, but I'm not sure if
we talked about Call of Duty once or twice.
Or
I like Battlefield. Like, for me, my favorites is Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3. Like, those are the two that I've remembered the most fondly. By the way, that Battlefield 3 like reveal trailer is so fucking good. And there's a moment that I just like, it's stuck in my head of when like the music's like doo, 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 and then you go in like go into the water, and then the sound gets muffled from the water. I was like, this is incredible. Anyway, I digress. I like Battlefield, but I will say that the like 2042 I bounced off of pretty fast. I just didn't like it at all. And I think 5 I played quite a bit of. 1 and 5 I played a decent amount of. How about you? Are you a Battlefielder?
Yeah, casually. I entered the series with 3. I played a little bit of 4, but I kind of missed 4. Like, I played a lot of
YouTube videos, and I was like, well, Evolution looks cool, but that was at a time where I wasn't affording many new games, so I kind of missed a boat on that one.
Yeah, and
Hardline. We both played Hardline. I forgot about that. Completely blacked that out of my memory.
Yep. Played Hardline a good bit. The ones that I played the most probably though would be like 3 and 1. I like you. I played a little bit of 5. 1 I definitely played a ton of with my friends. So
yeah,
that was probably the one that I have like if we're gonna look at hour counts, right? Like that's probably the one that I have the most time in. But yeah, I enjoy Battlefield. I appreciate that Battlefield is not as frequent as Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty's been, annual release every year.
Back.
It's nice that Battlefield has these times where like it goes away and then it can come back and feel exciting again.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that in the lead up to 2042. Playing it, I don't think it really hit the marks that a lot of people wanted, but I think the marketing definitely helped out a lot in there. But yeah, speaking of Battlefield,
what's up, Cash Crow?
New game. Oh yeah. New game is currently in the works. This is I think the first time this has happened, but there's 4 studios that are simultaneously working on different aspects of this Battlefield.
They're Call of Duty-ifying it.
Yes, to kind of do the inverse of what I just said, where Battlefield isn't like Call of Duty.
Really good.
This feels like a very Call of Duty thing
that
they're doing. But basically they have DICE working on the multiplayer. Criterion Games is contributing to single player and multiplayer. Motive, which is off of Dead Space Remake, is working on purely single player, and then Ripple Effect, which was formerly Dice LA. They're working on a quote unquote new experience. Sounds like
What do you
some
think
people
that
are
is?
suggesting it's Battle Royale. I don't know why you would call it
Can you
new experience if it was that.
can you imagine if Battlefield put out a battle royale? I mean, look, they already have a battle royale in 5, I think, right? Firestorm.
Yeah,
I think
Operation Firestorm.
Yes, but like like a Warzone, right? Can you imagine they put out a Warzone type of game in 25?
That's why I don't think it
when
is
like the
that.
trend
Like,
seems to that's over. I don't think battle royales are popping off quite like they used to.
I know 2042. I didn't play it, but I know it had a mode that people were describing as like Tarkov-esque and stuff, where it's like
Oh, sure.
kind of battle royale, kind of extraction shooter.
I think
guess
most
kinda
of my
like
time in
Warzone
2042
also.
late game was like in Portal. Is that what it's called? Where it's essentially like older. You can play through like older maps and stuff. That was where the fun for that game was for me.
Yeah, the only thing that I could think of by them using new experience if it were a battle royale was that they just don't want to say battle royale because that would be like,
Yeah.
that has a stink on it now,
Yeah.
like you said.
A new
But
Battlefield experience.
yeah, I can't even
90
really think
players.
of
Yeah.
what it would be, unless it would be like some kind of weird kind
Wait,
of like
no,
a
hold
Portal
on,
thing
hold
where
on.
like
I'll
you're
stick with the
playing
title.
through-
It's Battlefield. Oops, all Easter eggs. It's all just Megalodon Easter eggs the entire game. That's a new experience.
I mean, that would be kind of fun.
I could see it now.
honestly. Like,
Yeah.
especially if they're like as weirdly cryptic. as
Yeah,
those
wildly
are. Like,
complex. Yeah.
you just load into a match and it's like you can't see anything.
It's like
so
an
you have to-
escape room, but you have to. The goal is to figure out what the. Do we just come up with a Battlefield game? Yay! That's a new experience for you. Please.
Guys, we found out that if you drive 2 tanks into each other, they will start moving up into the sky. Like,
And that will trigger the weather event where there's a 50% chance that there's a shark that you have to shoot. And when you shoot the shark, it'll quote, "We're gonna need a bigger boat" from the movie Jaws. All right, that's how it builds. Now, perhaps the biggest topic from this EA Investor Day briefing is about AI. There's a lot of AI talk. The CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson, in fact, specifically said, quote, that, sorry, I should say, AI is, quote, the very core of our business. Now, there's many, right off the bat, you can read that and be like, let's fucking rip it apart. But there's actually, more interestingly, a presentation that they had on Investor Day that was called Imagination to Creation. Now, I would highly recommend you guys check out this little demo yourself, but I'm going to walk you through it. Nick, I don't think you've watched it, so I'm going to walk you through this as well.
I've seen like 2 clips from this, but not
Okay,
a whole
so
lot.
they
Just seeing it
essentially
on the
show
screen here.
it's a video where it's 2 people and they are having a conversation with this AI bot that's on this game design model, and they say, and they initially they give it a prompt of make a maze of cardboard boxes, and it puts out what it doesn't really look like a maze, but it is of course constructed of cardboard boxes. And then as they continue, they make it more complex, multi-level. The map kind of expands, and then they just say, hey, make 2 characters. The AI generates 2 characters, their weapons, and then you can also pick what kind of game it is. So for this example, they picked deathmatch, and then they're into the game. They have that weapon, the characters that they had, they're running around this map, and then while they're playing, they make up a rule of, okay, you can only die by grenade. That's the rule of this game, this deathmatch here we're having, and the game implements that, and so you can only die by grenade. And you can, at one point they give it the command to make it more epic, and it just makes this a pyramid of cardboard boxes. But first of all, I do have to think
Pyramids, epic.
well, I do have to say it's a little weird when like you're trying to show off like, oh, this is the capabilities of AI, and it's like cardboard boxes everywhere. Think about cardboard. It's like, I don't know if that was the best way to have advertised it. Now, the way this works is that they say that it's running off of a lot of EA's kind of research and their own kind of assets and everything like that. All the data models are from EA themselves, or the AI models have been trained by EA. And what they're saying is that just from a conversation with this bot, you're able to design a game. Now, look, I think Nick and I both have AI, or not AI, Jesus Christ, have game development aspirations to some degree. I don't know if this is the way that would, unlock that capacity of just typing in a prompt and having the game kind of be rendered in to,
right,
whatever, like nothing about that. Like, it is impressive. I can't sit here and say it's not impressive that it generates this essentially a playable demo of a very rudimentary build very fast, but at the same time it just feels devoid of anything and of any kind of life.
Yeah, just watching that footage there, I had seen like bits and pieces of that, but like it's what you're saying. Like, it's interesting, right? The theory behind it is interesting. Like, talking to an AI, prompter and, generating something like, I think in that instance, like a 1v1, like if you're like talking with a friend or something, it's like, yeah, let's just mess around with this, see what we can do. Like, I think that would probably be fun. That could give you some fun. But all of like, even just like looking at how it generates the levels, right? Discounting that it's just all cardboard boxes. Just like looking at the geometry, it kind of reminds me of like things you get with like Mario Maker, for instance, right? Like, you'll look at a Mario Maker level compared to a level made by a Nintendo designer, and it's like they're two different games. Like, it looks similar, right? It uses art and assets from, different Mario games, but there's just something about the, I guess, the untrained placement of things, right? That would come with like, entry level like consumers just using a tool like this, that like makes it feel like it's just always going to feel like, haphazardly placed user generated stuff.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that's maybe a little bit scary about what you just said is that you said it's untrained. And the scariest thing is that that's what they're doing. They're training it right now as we speak. It's filtering through. I mean, look, this is not even related to video games, but I believe, oh man, of course I'm going to blank on it, but is it Lionsgate or it's some it's essentially some company, I'll say, some movie making company has signed a deal to have AI comb through the vast catalog of this again, it might not be Lionsgate themselves, but it's like someone big like Lionsgate, and they're essentially saying that this way they can open up the AI would supposedly come up with ideas, I guess, for what could be made in the future. Just a whole bunch of bullshit, really. Like, I don't know what. I don't know why that was the best deal for them to make. But similarly, though, that whole deal was so that the AI can learn from existing media, and I think that's kind of what EA is kind of doing with their resources. And I'm sure in the last few years, there's those what are they the terms and services that you get something about it was like, hey, we can train our AIs based off of what you're doing, and you agree to this by playing our game.
Yeah, I think
that might be a stretch, but this,
I think the other thing that just confuses me about AI, right? Like, I don't sit here really philosophizing, whatever that word is,
Yeah.
about like AI and its implementation, right? Like it's still in such a experimental and like weird state right now.
Yeah.
But all of these AI tools, right, from my limited understanding, like we said, they need to be trained on existing things. Like if there's, studios doing like, deep fake or de-aging stuff, like they have to train it off of pictures of actors that exist, right?
Yeah.
You know, EA in this example using assets from their studios and stuff. Like theoretically, it's a list of variables and like, constants within what the AI knows how to do, right?
Mhm.
So if I say like, if I talk to the EA AI, that's going to be weird. to say a
EAI.
lot. The EAI. If I talk to it and I'm just like, make me a sparkle covered map that mixes Borderlands and Fallout and The Legend of Zelda, right?
Mhm.
Like there's no way that an AI is going to make something that is even close to resembling that, right?
Right.
And maybe that's naive, right, of me to say, because it's like, well, of course it's an EA kind of thing, but it's like this is what they're like promising, I feel like, with the messaging around it, where it's like, what did you say it was called? Imagination to
Creation.
creation? Yeah, it's just like, well, if you're saying that my imagination has to be limited to the properties and assets of electronic arts, then I don't really get what the point is, unless like you really, it's like a weird way of like, how like Bethesda or like CD Projekt now, like, you have your modding communities. Like if it's like a weird thing
See,
to try
I think
to
the
break
coolest
down, like, a modding community.
the coolest version of this is like Gary's mod, right? Where you like you were kind of saying, you could hop on with a few friends and be like, I don't know what to play, I don't know what to do. Let's just fuck around, make a map of toilet paper rolls, and play hide and seek, or like stupid, like theoretically, right? You could do that kind of stuff, but I'm dude, it's gonna suck. And it's already happened so far. I'm gonna give context for this. So like I have gone back and listened to some of the past episodes of the Respawn Station podcast as I search for songs to add to the playlist, which is now updated, by the way. And as I did, I came across like an episode, like episode 10, which is 28 weeks ago, for context, that I was like, oh man, like it was essentially Nick and I talking about what we think would be announced at Summer Game Fest, and EA, or not EA, 2K was going to announce something, and Nick was like, it's going to be BioShock, and I was like, it's going to be Mafia. It ended up being Civ, but I did get Mafia in the end. I just didn't know when I was going to get it. We got it at Gamescom instead.
Yeah, you had to wait a couple more months for it.
But like, it's like weird things like that. Like going back to the podcast, I'm noticing things, like that aged unusually, in a different way now that, so with that context, a little bit, I don't want to say this and I don't like, have it come bite me in the ass in a few years, but I don't think AI can make Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't think it can make a Last of Us Part 2. Now, does that mean, like, in this current moment? Yes, because I don't know how, I'm not an AI expert. I don't know what, after a million hours of learning, maybe you could get something close. But one of the things that I don't know who this quote is attributed to, but I think it was like some random TikTok comment, but also I don't know. Again, I don't know where that person got it from. So the quote is, AI helped prove the existence of a human soul because it created art that didn't have it. And that's ultimately like what I find a lot of AI art, and even something like even what we saw here. Like, again, it's a cardboard thing, and it's like it just feels so soulless that I think they're expecting you to add that, like, the memory won't be, the stack of cardboard boxes looked cool. It would be, remember when we just fucked around for a bit and we, played team deathmatch with grenades only. I don't know. So, like that's, you have, the player has to put in that kind of any emotional value into that. Whereas it's not a crafted experience where you're kind of being guided through some sort of a narrative structure yet. So far, we don't know how that'll shake out later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that they, are putting so much stock into this.
It's the core of their business, Nick. It's the core of EA's business. Ooh. We'll see how this shakes out. I think AI has been so. I'm honestly surprised we haven't had a whole episode about AI already. But it feels like in the last 2 years we've like skyrocketed. It's like, oh, you occasionally see AI, but now it's like, oh, it's everybody's got to have AI now. It's it's the buzzword.
AI is the new online pass. Right.
Yeah, and I don't want to say it's the new
online pass before.
I don't want to say it's the new NFTs because NFTs deservedly died right off the they thrived for like a month or two and then they immediately fell off. But I think there's real applications for AI, and I think is far more valuable than a Bored Ape NFT. But at the same time, I feel like the applications of it have been rather reckless and.
I think that's what it is. It's like
unreasonable, or
it's like for whatever reason, like it was like just kind of in the background, right? Like AI runs like enemy behaviors, right, or like tracking like player data and stuff. That stuff's like helpful information to get from that. But then
it's so funny because AI
was
not to cut you off, but like AI was something we would, there was a point where we were like, we need better AI. Like AI in video games sucks. Like, because these enemies are like not shooting right. Like, I remember the times where like video games came out and there's fucking enemies that just stood around and shot at you blankly, like without any disregard for health taken or anything. And it was so cool seeing them like, oh, they're flanking now. They can use they're not just shooting at you. They can use grenades and equipment to flush you out. Like. Things were happening, and then now it's like, actually, AI is no good. We don't want that anymore.
It's basically like some CEO heard their designers talking about AI and was just like, what if we used it for everything?
Yeah.
What if the kitchen was run by AI and this cake was made by AI?
What if we're all
weird
AI?
Pie in the sky stuff like that?
It kind of is weird that we're going. This is going to be the last thing I'll say, unless we of course divulge into something else. But one of the things that I always find interesting is like this, like the idea of like the simulation theory and stuff. And I wonder how long when you start a simulation, right, like of that caliber, that how long it takes for that simulation to get to a point where they're going into a simulation. At what point? How long does it take a civilization to advance far enough to be like, oh, we can have people just live a digital life and then run that simulation again? Anyway, I don't know how many layers deep we are, but hey, we're here to have a good time.
We're at least 3 layers in, I'd say, based on my,
your calculation,
expert opinion.
Yeah, by the dilation of the clock as you've observed it. You know what? If you're getting too frustrated by this talk of AI, then perhaps you need to cool down with a cozy game. You can check out Cozy Cool Down over on Respawn Station YouTube. That's watch.respawnstation.com. The 3rd episode is about Pine, a story of loss. I realized as soon as I said that, maybe not the thing you want to play to cheer yourself up after a conversation about AI. But hey, check it out. It's a new episode. And it's always awesome to see what new game Alexa's fished out of the growing library of cozy game demos. So check that out. Wow, it's like I said it and then she was summoned. That's kind of crazy. All right, Nick, what else we got? I mean, we covered quite a bit here, but let's see.
We still got more. If you want to chat us some stuff.
What's got you? Oh, first of all, before we get any further, Nick, I apologize for not addressing it sooner. congratulations, buddy. I know you're very happy that Fallout has, in fact, won 2 Emmys, one for Outstanding Music Supervision and one for Outstanding Emerging Media Program.
Yeah. 2 like off-air Emmys, so like, you know, it's like, dang it. Like, I was really hoping they got nominated for like 17, so it's like you just hope that something gets up on stage there. But no, it's cool to see them win anything at all. So and I and you enjoyed it very much, so that's all that matters. They don't need to take awards home, even if we wanted them to.
Here's I mean, look, while we're talking about interesting stuff, this was one, truth be told, this was a subject I was going to bring up for the inbox because I thought it was so interesting, and that was the fact that Flappy Bird, the iconic mobile game classic, is coming back in 2025. Sorry, the first versions of which are coming out Q3 2024, and then iOS, Android versions coming out in 2025. Now, this is from the Flappy Bird Foundation, a, quote, new team of passionate fans committed to sharing the game with the world, unquote.
Sounds like a charity.
Fun fact, guys. Foundation. I don't know if you're keeping up with the stories. Seems to be a bunch of bullshit. So this is not a revival of the game. It's not the game coming back. It's essentially the original owner of the IP let it lapse in terms of like the copyright, and then someone else came in and scooped up the Flappy Bird name. And now, yes, it's not all that it seems, Nick. So that's what made it so much more interesting. The actual owner of Flappy Bird, I believe, has directly spoken out and said they are not involved. In fact, here, this is from IGN, an article that says Flappy Bird creator speaks out after revival sparks backlash. And so in 2014, Vietnam-based developer Dong Nguyen shocked the gaming world when he pulled a viral hit Flappy Bird app from the App Store and Google Play Store at a time when it was making tens of thousands of dollars a day. He went on to say, quote, "I can call Flappy Bird a success of mine, but it also ruins my simple life. So now I hate it." I couldn't agree with
that. That's what made it. That's what. When this news first came out, I was like, that's so weird, because I remember, like, didn't the owner like hate it? And that was like why like it's not been available anymore.
Now,
so
again, continue with his IGN article from Wesley Poole. So 10 years later, an organization that calling itself the Flappy Bird Foundation has announced plans to bring Flappy Bird back. And it seems that essentially this was founded in 2023, and like I said, they're committed to preserving the Flappy Bird IP. But let's see how we break this down here. Eyebrows were raised by involvement of Michael Roberts, who is said to be the chief creative behind Flappy Bird's return. Roberts is a founder of 1208 Productions, a mobile game developer heavily involved with, Nick, what's the buzzword?
AI?
No, it's the other one that I just said died.
NFTs. Just said it died?
NFTs.
Oh, NFTs.
And so yeah, it's a mobile game developer heavily involved with NFTs and cryptocurrency. So that is the real story of Flappy Bird. Again, you can check out the full story, including the interview with the Flappy Bird creator over on IGN. But that totally messed up my count for the inbox this week, because man, was not expecting that all to happen. What a shit show.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. Like that was one of those things where I woke up that morning, saw it was like, Flappy Bird's coming back. I was like, what? And like hearing, you describe from their words and stuff, being like, we want to, what's the word? Maintain the Flappy Bird IP.
Yeah.
It's like I just like laugh, because it's just like, what IP? Like, yes, it's a thing, but it's like it's just a little green bird that flies through pipes.
At this point, they're just trying to bide their time to sign the rights to, like DreamWorks to make a Flappy Bird movie, because they made 2 or maybe 3, but at least 2 Angry Bird movies. So
Mm-hmm.
could be, man.
Yeah.
How far are we from that? Oh shit! Man down! Man down!
Man down! The camera fell.
I saw it moved. There we go. The perfect angle. It moved at one point during the show, and I was like, "Oh, it moved," and then I didn't expect it to completely collapse there. You are.
Yeah.
It is.
This camera is. How's that? Is that
There you go.
a little high?
We can work with it. There you go. Perfect.
There we go.
Now you can't
Okay.
move a muscle because it can't shake. All right,
Jeez.
Nick. You know what? While you're of course you're going through the camera problems, let's talk about the inbox. This week I have 5 games to talk about for the inbox, not including Flappy Bird, the revival. So, Nick, how do we want to do this? I mean we'll continue with the trend, 1 through 5, and we'll have you to dictate the order.
I wish I had a dice or something here. Let's do. This is gonna take too long. Let's just do number 2.
Number 2. All right. Okay. Interesting pick, Nick. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. It's not okay. So this is a weird game because it's not one I would usually consider be like, oh, this is cool. Mainly because, first of all, Nick, have you played Vampire Survivor? Are you a fan at all?
I did play it. I played it pretty hardcore around when it was added to Game Pass, and then once I finished it, I was like, okay, I've had my fill.
Well, Nick, this is Vampire Survivor meets Pokemon in Wild Keepers Rising. So this is from Lion Code Games, a Canadian indie studio who previously made Mech Armada. And this is a roguelike RPG where you essentially, it combines the power curve of a survivor-like, as they're now being called, with the compulsive fun of a creature collector. So the title's frenetic bullet heaven gameplay is on full display in the colorful reveal trailer, which you guys are looking at right now. So you can tame a team of whimsical guardians and decimate an endless onslaught of enemies in this hand-drawn indie adventure inspired by fantasy and anime classics. Look, I'm not a huge fan of the survivor likes, as they're quoted, but there's something about this that I kind of enjoyed. I think it is that weird, like, bright color palette, and I like the kind of the animations of the actual enemies themselves. And so
I think the creature collecting angle is at least an interesting shakeup, because I mean, with Vampire Survivors, you have multiple different characters that have different weapons and stuff like that, and kind of the roguelike element is gaining different weapons and upgrades. So like getting like a squad together, I guess, of like different creatures and stuff. I think that could shake up the gameplay in a pretty interesting way.
Nick, 1 through 4.
4.
Oh boy, this is a good one. This excites me and me alone, Nick. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, I played a game right after I had my ACL surgery nonstop for a few weeks, and that was My Time at Sandrock. And I'm very thrilled that My Time is back with My Time at Evershine. This is the latest game from Pathia Games, I believe is the way they. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it exactly, but so this game builds on the core mechanics of the other 2 games, My Time at Porsche and My Time at Sandrock, and is the quote most adventurous and immersive installment in the series. Building on the overwhelming success of its predecessor, this new chapter innovates and redefines the life simulation genre, designed to appeal to both life sim fans and RPG enthusiasts. So, My Time at Evershine features deep role-playing elements, more meaningful character progression to expansive exploration and quests, and Pathia invites you to build a new home together. I really liked My Time at Sandrock, and I think if the only thing I was a little bit hesitant on was like the desert of it all, like because like Sandrock is literally like a sandrock, like as the name says, it's a very dry map. But I really like lost myself to this game for a few weeks,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
cut
go
you
ahead.
off.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, did Sandrock have like? Also, correct me if I'm wrong in this, but wasn't Portia like kind of like chibi characters? And
Yes, I think
was Sandrock like that? Because the thing that jumped out to me at this trailer was like the character models. I was like, that looks different than what I think of when I think of My Time.
So it's not. I know exactly what you're talking about. So My Time at Portia isn't quite chibi, but it does have like they are a bit like different proportioned, and specifically speaking to Sandrock, which is what I played, they were more like stick, like you know, they had like a little torso and then like they're just like stick arms type of thing, like skinny arms. Yeah, that is one thing I noticed right off the bat in this little reveal trailer. The arms are there's muscles and like there's shapes. Things aren't just like sticks coming out of a torso. And look, even just the gameplay that we got here, the map looks awesome. Especially again, my complaint was the fact that Sandrock was too dry and sandy, and this is vibrant and you know, we see early gameplay. I don't know exactly what this is going to be like once it ships, but it looks pretty freaking awesome to me. And again, you can check it out. There is going to be a Kickstarter for this, so you know, go ahead and support the game over on Kickstarter once it launches. I don't think it's launched quite yet, but I'm going to be there because I really liked this one. Oh, and also, this is a quote from the creative director of the My Time series. My time at Sandrock cost a lot, like $12 million a lot, and still counting. We expect Evershine's budget to be somewhere in that ballpark as well. So that's, I'm gonna guess, somewhere around there in terms of scale or for their goal. But whenever it comes out, My Time at Evershine, will be coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, PC. Nick, the last thing they say it's going to come out to, future Nintendo platforms yet to be announced. Ties into something else we were talking about. Nick, 1 through 3. There's one thing in this that I think you'd be very interested in. I'll just hint at that. You have not gotten it yet.
1.
You still haven't gotten it, you fool. This one, I think maybe early on I may have mentioned as well, but I'm going to bring it back again because, well, it's officially out now. This is Self-Loss from Maximum Entertainment and Goodwin Games. This game takes you into the stunning world of Yord with all its magic and mysteries, and you can explore it all on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and Nintendo Switch. Right now, the game is available, consoles and PC. So, in Self-Loss, players will explore the boundary between life and death, uncovering a tale of grief, loss, and healing. Plagued by his own grief and inability to move on, the wise healer Casimir is tasked with a quest to perform the Self-Loss ritual. On his journey, he will fight the miasma corrupting this magical world, meet a myriad of curious inhabitants of the Yord, and learn stories that will change his life forever. Again, Self-Loss, available on consoles and PC right now. You can go pick it up. What are you doing? If that looks good to you, what are you doing? Go play the game.
Art style looked very reminiscent of like a Death's Door. Just looking at that.
Yeah. Now, Nick, it is a 50-50 shot if you're going to get the game that I think you're going to like.
2.
You fucking goddamn idiot. You didn't get it. This one. I think somehow every episode, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, somehow every episode I've included some sort of a Metroidvania in there. And I'm not going to disappoint. Who am I, Nick, to let the people down? It's
a popular genre.
It is. I did not realize how popular until I started doing this segment. So this is Awaken Astral Blade. From global indie publisher ES Digital Games comes Awaken Astral Blade, a action-packed Metroidvania side-scrolling action game that is coming out on October 22nd to PlayStation 5 and PC via Steam and the Epic Game Store. So, in Awaken Astral Blade, you play as a bionic named Tanya, a clone from the OS-CR 100 series created by Dr. Harvius, as she ventures deep into the rainforests in search of missing team of researchers. Tanya's journey truly begins when she uncovers ancient secrets buried deep within the ruins in the forest, leading her to confront mysteries of her origins and her ultimate destiny. Just over a month for this one, so check that out if you're into 2D side-scrolling. I mean, look, while I have been throwing a lot of Metroidvanias on the list, there's been a variety, I think, so different art styles. I think we had one last episode. That's looks different from this. So find the one that suits your style.
Had some nice looking combat animations in that trailer.
I gotta say that part of I was watching that the trailer, and I was like, you know what, that monster kind of looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and that was a primary reason, Nick, I'm not ashamed to say, primary reason why I included it. Two quick hitters before I get to the one that I think Nick will like. Darksiders 2 is coming back once again because Definitive was not the end. So it's going to get enhanced on PS5 and Xbox Series X. So if you already have the Definitive edition of Darksiders 2, then you get a free upgrade on that console, or you can buy it brand new. Other one, a random game that I thought looked cool, Hide the Corpse, is a VR game coming to MetaQuest where you have to hide the body. It's a physics-based VR game. So that's that. Now, Nick, the game, I hope I haven't hyped it up too much because I now I've said it. But this game will take you to November 6th, 1959 in Akron, Ohio. Nick, welcome to Sportal. Get ready to swing, smack, and score in this upcoming sport-based first-person shooter from indie developer Sleepwalking Potatoes and publisher Retro Vibe. Blending fast-paced FPS mechanics and sports action, Sportal hurls players into a portal where vintage sports gear becomes deadly weapons. Armed with baseball bats, hockey sticks, lacrosse nets, and more, players will strike, launch, and slam numerous balls into the hordes of classic 1950-style movie monsters in this one-of-a-kind first-person roguelike set in 50s America. Did I get
Definitely
you?
An interesting combination there. Can't say that I would have expected that at all, but yeah.
You never know what to expect. Also, I like the name Sportal. Nick, what do you give that one?
It's a one-word title, so that gets higher marks for me.
Sure.
It's a one-word title. I think is hard to nail properly for a lot of games, but when it does, like Doom, Fallout, whenever you get those one-word titles, I think they can hit. So yeah, it's a unique title, and I think they deserve props for a one-word title.
Props. And that's the inbox. Let's get back to what else is on the news. What have we missed here?
Yeah, we can just tackle a couple more if you're down, Sri.
Yes, yeah.
How about this one? This one's pertinent to both of us. I know I'm definitely going to be hopping in. Not sure if you are, but Starfield. We got a 10-minute deep dive on Shattered Space, the upcoming DLC expansion. I forget, Sri, because I think you played early, right? So do you have like the Ultimate Edition upgrade for this game?
I don't know because I played through Game Pass and there was a $30 like thing where you could get it. I don't know if that means I have the Ultimate Edition, but I did pay for some sort of an upgrade.
If you do have that, then Shattered Space is free. So if that is in fact what you purchased, then you might just be able to hop into the the new content when it comes out. But yeah, it was a 10-minute gameplay trailer. It's structured very similarly to the Starfield Direct, where we hear from multiple different designers from Bethesda talking about different aspects of the DLC. And we get to see a lot of footage, which has been very nice because outside of like the one trailer that we got for Shattered Space, they've kind of been radio silent on a lot of details surrounding the DLC.
Oh, I do
But
have it, Nick. So I do have access to this Shattered
nice.
Space.
Yeah, you'll be able to hop in. It seems like it's going to be really cool.
I am curious. Again, I don't play a lot of DLCs, but I did like Starfield, so
it clashes tonally with Starfield because this DLC apparently has more of like a horror vibe to it that they're describing.
Say no more.
And they even showcase a little bit of I think it's kind of how it's going to start, because it starts on this abandoned space station, and they have like this little sequence where you're just kind of like slowly walking around. There's lights flickering, blood smears on the floor and everything.
Hell yeah.
So there's definitely a bit of a weirder vibe and a tone to this, in addition to exploring a lot of lore surrounding the House Faroon, which
right.
kind of popped up here and there in the base game, but they weren't exactly as fleshed out as some of the other factions. This time we're going to their home world and getting to explore like their home city. And the important thing to note about mentioning the home world is that the entire DLC is contained to this home world. So it's an entire area that's completely handcrafted on the home world for this like
just 11 more
world
days
cell, I guess. Yeah, it's coming out pretty soon. And yeah, you'll be able to explore all these locations. I think they talked about taking a lot of feedback from the launch cycle of Starfield, and a lot of people kind of had issues with how fast travel heavy and how you're kind of like dotting around to multiple different planets all the time.
Right.
So this is a direct response to that, where everything is contained to this planet, and it's hopefully going to feel a little bit more like older Bethesda stuff, where you're more thoroughly exploring like a set area rather than fast traveling around a whole bunch.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if I own it already, and I like I said, I like Starfield. I'm the only thing, and this is what I don't know if you have this, Nick. You might not have this because you 100% of the game. But whenever I think about it, when I'm like, oh, I should go back for the DLC, I'm always like, oh, I should play the game again for the context of like, but then that's too much. I can't.
I do that if it's like a significant amount of time after. Like usually,
Sure.
like it's gonna sound weird saying this, but like I'll do that when like a sequel is about to come out. I'll go back and replay a first game.
Yeah.
DLC, like I usually don't have that feeling where I need to replay the entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess it's only been a year, right, since Starfield came out.
Yeah,
and I mean, you know what? Maybe I'll just read my diary. That'd be a curious experiment to see if that's enough for me to experience it. What's uploading? How's it going, man?
But yeah, super excited for Starfield Shattered Space. Nice that it's included with special edition things. Get a little bit of extra perks out of that for me.
Yeah.
So.
I will say,
yeah.
I mean, if you were making a commission, I think you probably single-handedly sold me into getting that upgrade for Premium Edition, because I was like, I thought we talked about it so much back and forth when like right going up to the release that I was like, fine, I'll pay it so I can. And it was so annoying because I'd never done one of those like, oh, play it early games before like that, and the game, I was like, how does that work? How's this like? It did not work. If I remember correctly, we exchanged texts like, "Is the game working for you? Like it's supposed to launch?"
For like the first hour, they were having issues. I remember, and then eventually it got sorted.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Bethesda. You kind of take what you can get sometimes on that front.
I get it.
I gotta talk about this one, Sri, real quick.
Go for it.
This will be a quickie. Selfishly, again, this is another one that I'm super into. Tony Hawk, the man himself,
Yes.
has hit the scene saying that he is currently in talks with Activision. We are heading into an anniversary year for the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series. I believe it's the 25th anniversary, and he said they are working on something that fans are going to enjoy.
Oh,
So
snap.
that's a bit up in the air. It's kind of funny how many Tony Hawk games we learn about just from Tony Hawk. Like, he'll just be like, yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
talking to them.
yeah.
Like, we're working on something.
It's
I feel like
happening.
the last, like, 4 games have been revealed, quote-unquote, that way. But, basically, it did come out, again, funnily enough, through Tony Hawk, that they were working on a Pro Skater 3 and 4 remaster / remake in the style of the 1+2 one that we got.
Right.
But that was canceled before Vicarious Visions was kind of morphed into Blizzard. So we have no idea who's working on this. We don't even have an idea of what this is. It could be 3 and 4 again.
Right.
I was texting my one buddy and I was like, I could also see it if it is an anniversary related thing. Like maybe it's just like ports of some of those games that can run on newer hardware.
Yeah.
We really don't know, but
Something Tony Hawk.
if something Tony Hawk has come in and like, fingers crossed if they can like get Vicarious Visions or like some of that team pulled back out of Blizzard to work on something, I will be a happy camper because that 1+2 remake, I mean, that is like, I can definitively say it is one of my favorite games of the last 5 years. I still go back and play that game regularly. So
Yeah. Hey man, I hope you get something good, because it could be hit or miss. You don't know.
Yeah, we really don't. That's the issue. Tony Hawk, as much as I love it, it is not a spotless history with that franchise.
What else do we have? I mean, I think we actually did covered crazy quite a bit here.
Yeah, I
think we really only have the sad news left, right? I think that's the only.
Pretty much. I was just about to say it's just kind of like some downer stuff. I don't know if we want to.
We don't have to. We don't have to hit all that. We've spent enough time lamenting about job cuts in this industry.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I
think
didn't see
this
this.
one-
I didn't see this, so I'll say this because this is kind of surprising. The HTC Vive Focus Vision revealed. It's a standalone headset, swappable, detachable batteries provide up to 2 hours of playtime, and it costs a pretty $999.
Yeah,
Whoa.
because correct me if I'm wrong. The first Vive that was not standalone, right? Like you had to hook that.
You have
up
to hook that up, I
PC.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of going after that MetaQuest kind of audience, but
Yeah.
obviously
It also has
a
cameras in the
bit
front
of a higher
for
price
seeming.
point.
I'm guessing you have like pass through. I don't know if I don't think the first one had pass through, but yeah, this one has like, has that Vision Pro kind of like, you can pick tabs up and move it around type of thing. Interesting.
Yeah,
look,
that was,
I'm gonna get a
earlier
VR
today, I
headset
think.
soon. I just or like a more intense one than the PSVR. I just need a has to be the right one at the right time at the right price.
Mhm.
Is $1,000 the right price? No, I don't know because I spent like a total of like $150 on my PSVR. So
I was actually going to talk to you about that because we were sharing back and forth earlier this week about like your kind of VR stint that you're in right now, and I was like, I have a couple VR games. I was like, maybe if my the company I work at puts some VR
Nice
headsets on sale, maybe I'll snag one. But it's like that's got to be a pretty decent discount. I know how many cables that PSVR has, and it's like,
yeah, that was
I
actually
don't
the
know.
biggest thing because I bought the PSVR headset and I was like, oh, I got it, baby, and it was like a pre-owned edition, but it was like refurbished and stuff, and it was like I think $80 on sale. It was like 80, 85. And I was
that's
like,
not a bad price.
I was
That's
like,
basically what I just paid for Warhammer. So
I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then I got it, and then as soon as I got it, I was like, oh, I can't use this because I need a camera. It didn't come with a camera. So then I went on eBay and I bought like another. It was like $15. I got a PlayStation Eye camera, and then plugged it all in. And it turns out if you want to play with the PS5, you need a dongle, which PlayStation
dongle adapter. Yep.
which PlayStation gave out those for free. but not anymore. So now I had to go back on eBay, and it was like another $5-6 or something like that. So all said and done, and like all wires and everything bought, and chargers and everything, it was 125 or so, 125, 150 total. But not bad. I think it was for the PSVR and how much time I got out of it. I think it was a worthwhile investment. But also this thing has this Vive headset has infrared floodlight and 4 cameras to support illuminated hand tracking with 26-point precision. Interesting. Well, I don't know if that's the next headset I'll be buying, but I'd be curious to see how that lands. Nick, is there anything else you wanted to hit on? I mean, there's one.
Not really from the news lineup. I was just gonna say there's also been talk of Valve coming out with another VR headset, so
yeah,
maybe that would be one to look out for too. Wasn't the Index, that was also a pretty expensive one though, wasn't it? One of the high end ones.
Yeah, I mean VR headsets were kind of expensive up until recently.
In general, yes.
Yeah,
right.
You know, a few weeks ago, actually a few months ago at this point, actually, I said actually twice. Shit, I got to do that again. A few months ago, I debated, and I even had like notes down to talk about it, but I didn't because we ran out of time in the episode. But I had a hands-on demo with the the Apple Vision Pro, and it is such a crazy device that I can't even quite describe it to you how crazy the thing is, because first of all, I went, you can go to any Apple showroom and then you can get a demo, and it's so excessive because when you say, hey, I want the demo, you don't just go in and get a headset. You have to scan your face, and then out in the back of the the building, they construct the PS Vision Pro, not the PS. What the hell? Why do I keep saying PlayStation? The Apple Vision Pro. They construct it with like the correct type of like lens and nose bridge and everything to fit comfortably for your face shape, and then they bring it out to you and walk you through the demo. And that's how it is when you order the the Apple Vision Pro. That is how you order it as well. When you order it, you have to scan your face and get the right one.
The PlayStation Apple Pro.
Yes, that's what it's going to turn into in a few years. Now, but no, it's like there's a crown up top, and when you twist it all the way, it like takes away what's in front of you and immerses you in a 3D environment that like of your choosing. It's usually like I was a mountain, like lakeside view for mine, but it's so immersive, like it's so immediate and realistic. There's also one of the things that is so seamless is that to control things, you just look around, like you move your eyes, not your head. You just move your eyes to what you want to interact with, and then while your hands are on your lap, you just put your index finger and your thumb together. You just touch them together, and the Vision Pro has cameras that face down that track your touches, and those count as mouse clicks, for example, or like selections. So you can do that little subtle little pinch movement to select things, like open apps, or resize things, click and drag. It's so versatile and it's so seamless because you don't really have to think about it. You're not like learning. You don't have to put your arms out in front of you and pretend you're in the future. You can just sit back casually and scroll away. And also if you have like panoramic photos that can like fully immerse your field of view, you can take live or like vision photos. I don't know what they call it. There's probably some Apple term for it, but you can take a video or a photo that is in through the headset, and it's like more immersive than just a regular, it's like a VR version of like the 3D from the 3DS, when you could take a photo of the 3DS and it's like, it's almost 3D. It's kind of like that, but VR version, so it's a little bit more immersive. So honestly, if that is how the future of VR is, I'm actually kind of intrigued to see where it goes, because Dude, it is seriously impressive. I mean, there's no gaming stuff. Like, there's not a lot of gaming things yet, but they do have like these dinosaur experiences and stuff that are, you know, just like that. It's like a roller coaster almost. It's like a little experience to be like, hey, this technology can be pretty immersive. Really good sound design and everything too. Yeah, overall, very very impressed. But I'm not going to pay $3,500 for it, so there's no shot. There's no shot.
That is not the right price at the right time.
Nick, do you have, to end the episode, a like this, try that for the people?
Let's see. I did not grab one beforehand, as is tradition now.
Well, I'll buy you some time. This is clearly a gaming podcast, if you couldn't figure it out already, but I like to use any excuse I can to talk about other stuff. In this case, it's a book. So, for this episode's Like This, Try That, if you like Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, then check out or try Xenos by Dan Abnett. So I started this a few days ago, I think like 2 days after I finished Space Marine 2, and I'd read one other Dan Abnett book. I really liked his writing. I wanted to see what else he could, what else he was working on in the 40k universe. And Xenos is the book 1 of a 4-book series in the Warhammer universe that follows Inquisitor Eisenhorn. And I originally just got the audiobook because I had bought it when, I first started getting into Warhammer, and people said, hey, this is a pretty good entry point into the series. And I, of course, said, I'll be the judge of that. And I can say now, man, it is a pretty good way to enter the Warhammer 40k universe. In fact, you don't need to know anything about or enjoy the Warhammer universe in order to enjoy this book. That is how good it is. And it was so good, in fact, I ended up picking up the omnibus, which is gigantic. I mean, this is biblical in terms of both it's like 1,000 pages, but also the pages are like themselves are like thin text and like short margins. Anyway, without getting into the physical attributes of this book, it is so fucking sick. It is essentially a series of climaxes. It's just set piece after climactic set piece that is stitched together by, I think, some rather compelling characters. Mainly like Eisenhorn and his team is just really endearing in a weird way, considering it's Warhammer and and Eisenhorn is an inquisitor, so his whole thing is like he's like going around trying to like find things that would work against the Imperium, be it heretics or Xenos or etc. And you would think that would be boring and like technical, but it almost turns into a sort of mystery detective novel or with like a mix of James Bond, where he's kind of traveling across different planets, following the leads of this mystery that he's solving. And again, like I said, the result is just these cool character interactions mixed with action that is just fucking sick. There's so many times in this book that, whether I was reading or like listening to it mainly, where I was just like, oh my God. I had to put the book down and be like, oh my God, that is so good. And again, I don't know all the lore of Warhammer. I just know the general stuff. I know the general vibe, and this nails it. Dan Abnett is an incredible writer, and I've read 14 books this year, which is not impressive for some people, but hey, I've also played like 40 video games, so I've squeezed a lot in there. But this is definitely one of my favorite books of this year. It totally took me by surprise.
Nice. I do actually have one now.
All right.
These may or may not. One of them is definitely a popular game.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the other one is. So I will say, if you like Subnautica, try Soma.
Repeat that game?
Soma.
Well, the horror game?
Yeah.
Oh shit. From Amnesia. Yeah, Amnesia.
Yes.
People. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. there's basically where I'm coming from at that.
Was not expecting
Soma
it.
is very much not a survival type of game, but it is primarily set underwater. And I do think elements of Subnautica, I was talking with some coworkers recently about it, and elements of Subnautica can definitely get pretty scary for some people.
Sure.
Like it's less about like, objective horror, right? Versus just like a very scary and startling fish in like the darkness of the ocean.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think if you
Was it
do
called like
you know,
thalassophobia or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. So yeah, if you're the type of person that enjoys being scared under the ocean, if Subnautica did something like that to you, then I would say definitely give Soma a try, because it has a very unique story to it that has some pretty interesting narrative moments that I haven't. I'm trying to remember. I played Soma, I think like maybe like 6 or 7 years ago at this point. Like it's been a minute since I've played Soma, but there are still moments in that story that have stuck with me and that I will occasionally go back on like YouTube and rewatch other people experience. So
I didn't know it was that
definitely
narratively strong. I will say that Soma kind of feels like it's setting up for like a D's nuts joke. Every time I hear that name. Hey, you heard of Soma? Soma D's nuts? It feels,
I could see it too, definitely. But yeah, if you like the scarier aspects of Subnautica, give Soma a try.
Hell yeah. Well, Nick, that brings us to the end of yet another episode of the Respawn Station podcast. 28 weeks deep, and we are still chugging along. So if you're enjoying the show, be sure to leave a rating on the podcast platform of your choice. Leave a like on YouTube, subscribe. Check out our highlights over on watch.respawnstation.com, where you can tune in for a new episode of Cozy Cooldown every week of September, as well as the upcoming episode of Retrograde, where we will be talking about Dragon Age Origins. And also, this is a fun fact that I realized I posted this on Discord, and it seems that not everybody knew about it. It's linked in the description below, but we do this thing. It's something that I've done since college when Nick and I and Austin, we were all doing this a podcast back then as well. But for some reason, I always thought it was interesting, where we had a playlist, and every episode of the podcast, there's a song that gets added to the playlist to kind of commemorate that episode. And I'll admit I fell behind a little bit, but we're now officially caught up. So every episode of the Respawn Station podcast has a corresponding song on the Respawn Station playlist, and you can check it out over on playlist.respawnstation.com. It'll take you to the Spotify playlist. And it's cool because not all of them are like direct. Like some of them, if we're talking about a specific game for a majority of the episode, then we're going to put a song from that soundtrack or something, right? But there's, certain songs that you'll have to like kind of snoop out for why we included it. So I'm not going to say much more, but it's fun, and people also seem to enjoy that little fact. So check out the playlist. Now, Nick, do you have anything else to say to the people?
You know what? I think it was nice this week. Not to say that these other stories that we have weren't important, but it was kind of nice not to get drugged down with like some negative stories again. Like,
yes,
we had a lot to talk about and cover, and I enjoyed, keeping the spirits a bit higher this week, especially after, dunking on PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel like we
don't like to do it, but we do it.
We keep a balance here. We're not always going to be talking about depressing stuff or shitting on new products. Sometimes we celebrate new products too. So with that said, people, as always, thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.